You know, the rumor mill for the next big smartphone, it just never stops, does it? And right now, all eyes are on the Samsung Galaxy S26. But what's actually real and what's just, well, noise? In this explainer, we're going to dig into the most credible leaks to piece together what Samsung's next flagship might actually look like. So, let's dive in.
It's the same question we ask every single year. Is this new phone just a small incremental step, or is it a giant leap forward? The early whispers about the S26, they suggest it's kind of both, but with this really fascinating twist. So come on, let's sift through the evidence together and see if we can figure out where it lands.
First up, let's talk about power, and specifically, charging speeds. This has been a bit of a sore spot for Samsung for years, but one of the biggest rumors out there suggests they're finally about to make a pretty significant change.
So here's the deal with Samsung's current system. Yeah, they advertise 45-watt fast charging, but the phone only actually hits that peak speed for like a minute. It then quickly throttles down as heat builds up, which means in the real world, you're not really getting that full 45-watt speed for very long at all.
And this is where the new rumor gets really interesting. The upgrade isn't just about sticking a bigger number on the box. Sure, it might be a 60-watt system, but the real game changer is how it sustains its power. The leak suggests it'll hold a high speed of 45 watts all the way up to a 70% charge. That sustained speed, not the peak, is what you're actually going to feel day to day. It's huge.
So, where does this actually put Samsung in the grand scheme of things? Well, a jump to a sustained 45-watt charge is a massive step up for them for sure. It puts them right there with rivals like Google. But, it's also a pretty conservative move when you see other brands pushing way past 100 watts. This feels less about winning a spec war and more about giving you a better, healthier, real-world experience.
Okay, moving on to the cameras, and you're going to see a very similar story emerging here. The most fascinating rumors aren't about bigger lenses or cramming in more megapixels. Nope. Instead, it seems like the biggest upgrades are happening behind the scenes, in the software.
And this is a really key detail. The S26 Ultra is expected to use the exact same 200-megapixel main sensor for the third year in a row. Now, outside of a tiny rumored tweak to a telephoto lens, the core hardware is basically staying put. So, if the hardware isn't changing, where are the improvements going to come from?
Well, the answer seems to be this app right here, Camera Assistant. For those of you who don't know, this is an official Samsung app that's basically like a secret menu for your camera. It unlocks all these pro-level settings that are normally automated and hidden away, and it's reportedly getting some seriously powerful new features.
So what do these new tools actually let you do? Well, a 24-megapixel default mode. That's the sweet spot between incredible detail and, files that don't fill up your entire phone. Adaptive Pixel is a new feature that's rumored to intelligently crush noise in your photos. And the option to turn off HDR10+ video, that is a huge win for pro editors who want total control. But there's one feature here that really stands out.
This focus speed slider. It sounds so simple, right? But for video, this is a huge deal. It would let you control exactly how fast the focus racks from one subject to another, getting rid of those jerky, sudden jumps you always see in smartphone videos. This one little slider could help you create incredibly smooth, cinematic-looking focus pulls. It's awesome.
All right, let's get to the most controversial part of the whole S26 story, the processor. This is a classic tech battle, a real fight for the very heart of the phone. And the reports we're seeing are completely at odds with each other. It's a mess.
So the story started with these leaks pointing to a massive strategic shift for Samsung. The rumor was that they'd use their own in-house Exynos 2600 chip in pretty much all S26 models, all over the world. That would be a huge break from their tradition of using Qualcomm Snapdragon chips in places like the US.
And this rumor made a lot of sense, because according to all the performance leaks, the Exynos 2600 is an absolute monster. We're hearing reports that it's not just better than Apple's next chip, but maybe even 30% faster than its direct Snapdragon rival. So a full Exynos lineup suddenly seemed very, very plausible.
But then, Qualcomm fired back, and this wasn't some anonymous leak. This was during an official earnings call. They basically said their baseline assumption is that they will supply 75% of the chips for the S26, just like they have before. That is a direct contradiction to everything the leaks were saying.
So this is the battlefield. On one side, you have all these exciting pre-release leaks talking about a powerful new in-house chip and a huge strategic change for Samsung. And on the other, you have a cold, hard official statement from their biggest partner saying, nope,
It's just business as usual. It's a total war of words right now, and honestly, we just don't know who's right.
Okay, so let's pull back for a second and try to connect all these dots. Because when you look at the rumors for charging, the cameras, and the processor all together, a really clear strategy starts to emerge from the chaos.
So let's just recap, right? With charging, the focus is on smarter, sustained power, not just a bigger number for the sake of it. With the camera, it's all about giving you intelligent software controls, not just throwing more megapixels at the problem. You're starting to see the pattern here, right?
And that really brings us to the core story. The whole theme of the Galaxy S26, based on everything we're hearing, doesn't seem to be about winning some war of raw specifications. It's about thoughtful refinement. It's about adding intelligence and user control to make the entire experience of actually using the phone just better.
Which leads us to this final, really critical question. Is this a new philosophy for Samsung? Are they finally, after all these years, moving away from the spec war and focusing instead on perfecting the actual experience of using their phones? The rumors certainly seem to be pointing toward a much smarter, more refined future for the Galaxy lineup.